Okay, good evening, everyone. I'll call the Monday, September 24th Selectmen's meeting to order. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have a couple of public hearings to start with tonight. The first one is consent agreement for 3 Strickland Lane.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the attorneys that representing both the town and the individual here this evening can probably fill in a little bit more than what I'll be able to provide to you, but in essence, the folks have a right-of-way that essentially has split a lot. One side, it looks like it's give or take an acre, the other side is about 6, maybe 7 acres, and they're here this evening to provide you the information and discuss the opportunity to perhaps enter into a consent agreement signed by the court. So, Leah's here this evening, and Sandy is with her, so they can fill in whatever you need for the public hearing.
Anybody from the board have any comments or questions for? Any comments from the public? You may, please make sure you state your name. Nothing from the attorneys?
I'm at the board's pleasure. I'm more than happy to round out the discussion or to give some details. I know that we had met previously in executive session that sort of set forth the salient details. I'm happy to go through it again, or if maybe in the interest of efficiency, just be here. Sandy and I are here to answer any questions you may have at the pleasure of the board, whatever you're.
Anybody with any comments, questions? No? Okay, having said that, we'll close the public hearing on the consent agreement for 3 Strickland Lane. And we'll move to the next one, is adoption of the new general assistance maximums as set by the state.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the town many years ago adopted the state general assistance model plan and ordinance, and yearly prior to October 1st, they provide to each municipality who's adopted that the changes in maximums that they're proposing for each county within the state. I've provided in your packet copies of those changes. Generally speaking, most of the changes are within percentages that they add every year. So.
Okay, anything from the comment on the adoption of these new limits? Anything from the board? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing on the adoption of the new general assistance maximum as set by the state. And move to our regular agenda. Approval of the agenda, any additions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I have one that I'd like to place under new business, replacement of excavation tool for the fire department.
All right. Looking for a motion?
Second.
Motion, we accept the agenda as amended. All those in favor? Okay. We're at the public forum part here. This is where we ask the general public if they have any comments that have nothing to do with the agenda. So with that said, does anybody in the public have a comment? Jack?
Yes, Jack Reeds. I do have some comments, but they're regarding the new municipal building. And I'd just like to be convinced, not convinced, but request that my comments be included when we get to that topic.
Sure.
Thank you.
We will be talking about that in the manager's report, so. Okay, anybody have anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna suggest perhaps we jump to the
Yeah,
Strickland Lane.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. Yep, yep. let's approve the minutes here first. Anybody, okay with the minutes?
Move to approve.
Right.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
I abstain.
Alright, so let's, hop over to new business. We'll grab the, two items that we had a public hearing on. The first one is the consent agreement, for 3 Strickland Lane. We've all read it, we all know
Yeah, you've
what
heard
it's
the
about.
materials, unless there's any comment that you folks need to make, I would see a motion in a second to approve the work that the attorneys have done to place this document, before you.
Anybody from the board have any comments, questions? Okay, looking for a motion to approve as written.
Move to approve. Second.
And Mr. Chairman, might I also ask for a motion to authorize myself and Jim Nagel to, sign the land use enforcement complaint as well, that accompanies the consent agreement? Just to put some detail on that, as we had discussed, the process is when there's an 80K land use, enforcement issue, and we have a consent agreement, we actually file the complaint with the court at the same time as the consent decree, so that they're handled at the same time. But, we just need an authorization to allow us to actually bring that action in court, as well as submit the consent decree.
You want 2 separate motions, or?
Yeah, let's take care of this one, and then we can, do the other one. So we have a motion and a second, any other discussion? All those in favor?
Abstention.
And then, we're looking for, a motion to allow Leah and their
Code
attorney.
enforcement.
Jim Nagel. Jim Nagel.
Oh, Nagel, yeah, to, sign the land use ordinance complaint.
And to file it in court.
And file, right.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion? All those in favor? One abstention. We got something to sign, right?
No, I believe, the attorneys will take
It's
care
a
of.
consent order, so the judge signs it, and
Yeah.
Jim and I can sign the,
Yeah.
land use citation, so we're good.
So we're all set?
Perfect,
Thank you.
very good. We'll go back, we'll come back to the general assistance. We don't need to, we don't have any other ways here for any of that.
Nope.
Okay.
You know?
All right, committee and board reports. Nothing, right? Haven't done any school things, cause we've been in here doing the building committees. Okay, managers report.
Just to give you, a little more information and plus information to the public, that the committee on working on the street design and construction standards ordinance will meet again, tomorrow evening. They're working on version 5 at this point. I think we're into a situation where, we've gone through up to page, I think it's page 12 or 13, so we'll bring it up there. Hopefully be able to wrap up a complete, review of the ordinance plus the revisions that are being proposed and discussions then. At some point, I'm hoping that if they cannot, come to consensus on, Tuesday evening, to have another meeting, and hopefully we can get to a point where we can push that along to the planning board for their public hearing, process, and hopefully at some point to a special town meeting.
Okay, very good. Interview of architects and, for the future municipal building construction.
Yeah, just to, most of you know, but the general public may not know, that for several months, the building committee has been working diligently to try to, come together with the hiring of an architect to assist the municipality in the final development phase of a new, municipal building for the community. We interviewed 5, architectural firms, last week, did on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. The committee then had a few questions that they wanted to ask, a couple, to at least one particular firm that had provided information, but not enough. So I heard back from that, architectural firm, late today. I will send that out to the committee, their responses, probably first thing in the morning. The committee is planning on meeting, I believe, again on Wednesday, to continue their efforts to try to secure one of these architectural firms to be working with the committee to develop a plan that we all can get behind. I had, late in the week, I had Jack and Steve, they had come into my office. They wanted to chat with you folks on this subject matter here this evening, particularly about the establishing of a timeline and those types of things. So they're both here, they can speak for themselves far better than I can, so.
I'm glad you mentioned Wednesday, cause I had actually forgotten about it. I was thinking it was next week, but, before I get to Jack, and Steve, I wanna make a comment that, you know, this committee is pretty impressed with the work that this committee has done, for the general public to know. We've done an awful lot of work, and, I think in the long run, I think that hopefully, this will work out, that the general public will be very happy with what we've come up with, so. This is good, and, you know, pretty soon we'll be running into some of these, public hearings where they'll be able to voice their opinions and come see, so I'm really looking forward to that, so. Gentlemen?
Yes, thank you. The memo that you received is an update from back several months ago, but a new time frame now, and after the town elections are now over with. And I updated the timeline in there on the second page as a straw man. Just, we're not trying to get ahead of the committee, but I do think, you know, you 5 are gonna be making the ultimate decision on all this. And I put together a time frame that proposes that this project be completed by the end of next year. And all I'm really asking is that you folks do some thinking about it, because you'll be leading this committee and making the decision. And it's a straw man, subject to change. I've also put, you know, a lot of thoughts down as far as the vision statement and what I think we want to accomplish, and all of that's open for rewording. It's just my view, our view, I think, but my view of what I think our view is.
So I think this is good material to have the discussion and kind of, screen it out on Wednesday.
Mhm.
Certainly have this discussion with the whole group on Wednesday. Didn't we already come up with a vision statement? We had a vision statement that we did already,
I
right?
believe that what Jack has provided to you is, I think, something that we come up with earlier.
Yeah. It was a pre-vision statement.
Okay, good.
In addition to that, why, assuming the architect is decided upon and hired expeditiously, why, over coffee, Steve and I had some thoughts about how to keep on top of this and how to keep it all moving from a committee standpoint. And maybe you want to make a few comments on that, Steve.
Yeah, if we look at occupation of the building, assuming the public approves it, which is the first thing we'll have to do. But if we look at occupation of the building sometime around mid-December next year. And then say it's probably gonna take 8 to 9 months for detailed design and actual construction to happen. Assuming we stick with the pretty simple building that we've got now. That takes us back to April sometime for that to happen, which means there's then some design work will have to go ahead of that, and there's also the time required to get the contractor in place. That's gonna not happen overnight. And if you look at all that, you think we really need to get to a town meeting for the town to either approve or shoot us down in flames sometime around late January, early February, maybe mid-January if we could get it there. That relies on making use of the town's funds that are already in place for the architects to do their preliminary stuff before that date. And that should give them enough time to do that. If we make a decision on the architect this week, there should be plenty of time for them to be ready to have the stuff to present to the town in that sort of early January framework. But I think it's important for the town and all the taxpayers in the town that we keep the pressure on with this, because we're clearly in an era of rising interest rates, quite possibly rising costs as well. The construction industry tells me that things are going up fairly quickly while we're there, and the sooner we can lock it in, the cheaper it is likely to be and the less costly for the town. And I think that's really what's driving Jack and mine sort of pressure to get this pushed forward, if you like. And since the selectmen have to authorise the town meetings and things, it's important that you be driving it from that side a little bit as well, rather than just the building committee, which Jack and I are on.
Anybody got anything else? No? Okay.
I think the timeline is, pretty appropriate.
Yeah,
Based on
you know,
what
I mean,
we've
we've got all these different trades in that committee, and I think it's good to sit down and talk about this and kind of go and make sure that there isn't a white elephant here, or there's something that we're missing, because of, you know, there's a lot of expertise there, and, you know, we could sit there and then make that decision, and again, this is something that we would give to whoever we choose, and say, this is our timeline, you need to follow our timeline. Maybe a clerk of the works can follow and push some of this if we hire a clerk of the works. I don't know what, you know, what the clerk of the, all of the clerk of the works role is, but maybe this is something that we could make sure that they follow the time on that. I'm just kind of throwing that up, but we can talk about
Have
that.
that experience securing bond commitments?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
What was that comment, Ron?
I just wanna know, if he's had experience with bond commitments in the time frame it does, that could be
It could be an issue.
an issue, you know.
The main bond bank only issues twice a year. So we may have to look at other bond options. We still have to hire bond counsel,
Right.
to go through, whatever avenue we've taken. I've spoken to, Andrew Scoggin Bank, who does most of our banking, needs at this point. And they're ready, willing, and able to assist us. I think it's something we probably should talk about on Wednesday evening.
Yeah.
And I'll get some more information on
Okay.
the bonding mechanism to assist in that discussion.
I was involved in it once, it was a nightmare. I'd never do it again.
Dan, if I may, I was and am on the RSU Finance Committee, and, sat in on all of the monthly meetings where we met with, the firm that was eventually chosen. And yes, it is a long process, but, depending on your available funding, for the architect, you may also be able to begin that process early on so that, it is done on a timely basis and you have your commitment, assuming the town then says, yes, you're ready to go. But, yeah, you've gotta start early, and it's a question of how do you pay for that time period? And, what are your alternatives besides the main bond bank?
And I think that if, you know, we adhere to this or somewhat close to this, I think it's gonna be key that we let the public know as soon as possible what our timeline is, because having a special town meeting in December, January is, you know, is always iffy. We wanna make sure that plenty of people know ahead of time that this is what's happening, you know, we'll need to make sure that we communicate that quite a bit, so. We'll talk more on that Wednesday.
Good, thank you.
Super. Okay, let's see, residential electrical inspector, we got issues here, right?
Yes, we do. I provided you a memo, I think it was last week, after discussions with the code enforcement officer. I think a lot of municipalities may have had the same idea that once a municipal code enforcement officer certified by the state, that they also with that would come electrical certificate, electrical inspection certification. It does not. So, what it will require of the community would be to hire a master electrician to do our residential inspections. Or what we're doing right now is that when somebody comes in to pull a residential permit, we send them directly to the state. The state has a website which they can apply on and receive the information they have, and then the state coordinates the residential inspection with the electrician to ensure that that stuff's done prior to insulating and that kind of thing. So, our commercial electrical inspections will continue to be done by Jim Plamondon. Jim has taken on that responsibility for many years, and as a master electrician is obviously certified to do it. So, I think the issue I have at this point is, how do you wish for me to proceed? Do you feel that we need to have a local residential electrical inspector? Or do we allow the folks to go through the state process and file for the permit and then have the inspection done by the state? Generally, what it would require is that we would advertise looking for an individual to do residential electrical inspections. They'd have to have a master's electrician's license or be retired with a master's electrician's license in order to perform that task. So, or leave it the way it is and continue to move on in the hopes that it solves our issues. According to speaking to Jim again today, it seems to be running fairly smoothly. I think most of the electricians are now getting used to the fact that they have to apply via the state.
How much time does it add to the process? None.
No, the only troubling thing that I'm coming up with is, what happens is, if it's a 200 amp service or less, which is 99% of residential construction these days, they actually self-inspect. So as long as the electrician has a master's license, which essentially if you file through the state for a residential electrical permit, you need a master. There is no inspection at the residential level, they self-inspect, so it's filed underneath the master electrician's license.
So then
And that,
why would we pay for?
I just have a problem with, I don't know, there's just no accountability to me that,
Nobody local is looking
yeah,
at it.
there's nobody, there's not a second set of eyes.
Mhm.
I'm not
Well-
saying that these guys aren't qualified to do it, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to just have somebody else, like a third party, walk through
Right.
it.
They'd have to be a master though, and I think that's gonna be a stumbling block. I know that Lyman has one he's retired. I think Kennybunk has one on staff, and I'm not sure what Kennebunkport is doing at this point, but, if you want me to delve into it a little bit, I think right now we're okay, but I think, Jason brings up the point, it might be nice to have somebody local that's looking at that stuff.
We see it too on the fire suppression side, like the residential sprinklers that are being installed at Brookside have to be signed off by another licensed, certified installation, you know.
Just different set of eyes.
It's just all, and it's no fee, it's basically like a buddy system where the installer calls another local guy, says, hey, can you just come and sign off on my, he doesn't charge him anything, it's just a,
Okay. Do you think that's something that the industry, particularly electricians that you dealt with, would be receptive to?
yeah,
To
maybe,
work
I don't
within
know.
themselves?
They're getting up to like $100 an hour now, so they're probably gonna charge them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the question I have is if we go ahead with that, I mean, what's the cost of the town? Is there a cost of the town, or is it completely covered by the permitting process? You know, when they pull out a permit, or?
Well, it certainly would be a cost to the town, because we'd have to pay for that. I mean, we could link it to the collection of the fee, and make the fee go directly to the electrician who's
Right.
doing the inspection. But it will take some logistics on our part to accomplish that, and I think we still have to have, some town meeting action to allow that fee to be transferred directly to somebody. Cause we're not set up that way right now, we generally collect the fees as anticipation and then budget a certain amount of money, so we could do it either way. If we did it right now under this budget cycle and wanted to pay for it, we obviously would have some sort of deficit within an operating budget to cover that cost. I'm not sure what it would be at this point, but, it would give us an opportunity then to look at what kind of, based on residential permits or residential inspections, we could get an idea of what it would cost us to do that, maybe anticipate that revenue, and then,
Do you know how many open residential permits we have out there now?
no. So, do you want me to do some more work on it?
Yeah, I think you should do a little bit more research, you know, come back to us and,
Find out if there's anybody out there willing to work on that basis rather than getting paid by the town. You know, you're gonna find a whole lot of people who
Um,
do
It
that.
might be something you could just include in the permit too, saying, hey, the town of Arundel just wants
Right,
another master electrician to throw set eyes on your work and sign off on it, or maybe not even a signature, so. The state obviously has no issue with liability if they're just letting these guys
Mm.
yeah, they're self-doing it, so,
self-inspect, so.
which is kinda interesting.
I mean, it would make me feel more comfortable as a builder, that if, knowing that the electrician's being looked at by another
Okay,
electrician.
well, let me do a
You do it
little
for
more work
plumbing.
on it then.
What's that, Jay?
So you do it for plumbing, you know.
Yeah,
So they just work on a buddy system then? I mean,
On the fire sprinklers, yeah, they just, it's just, hey, could you mind coming over and inspecting my, sprinkler system?
it sounds a little,
I
a little
looked at
too
yours
close
last
for me
month.
to get an objective look at things.
Yeah, I looked at yours last
Yeah,
month.
that's right, come on
Yeah.
down.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, so it may be, you know, under those aspects, it may be good to have somebody that's sort of looking at it independent of everybody,
Mm.
so.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do some more work on it, and I'll report back to you folks as to what I find.
all right. Moving to old business. We've got this Arundel food truck ordinance here that we need to,
Yeah, I just developed another draft. I didn't know if I was gonna be able to get to it before tonight's business meeting, so when I did your packets late Friday, I sort of left it up in the air as to something we may or may not wanna delve into this evening. And I just updated my draft from the 29th of August to today, so, added some more things, tried to, clean up some of the language. And then I also took the fees out of that, looking to establish the fees via the Board of Selectmen through your fee approval process. But I still gotta get a better handle on fees to charge. Right now, our ordinance indicates $100, whether you're there one day or whether you're there for the season.
Yeah.
So it may be, what I'm seeing, some communities are $50 for the month, some are $10 for the day or the permit. Some are up to $500 for a permit for the year. So they're all over the place, and I think we need to just look at that a little more intently to see where we wanna go with it.
Does the board want to, take some time to look at this, and then maybe we can, see if we can act on it?
Yeah, I only got through about half of the, other ordinances that Keith provided us, and I started to work on this a
Yeah.
little bit, so I told Keith I'll email him with some suggestions based upon what I've read from the other ordinances.
Yeah, let's put it on the, make sure we put it on the agenda for our next
Okay.
meeting. And then, you know, at the same time, I would ask the board to kind of, keep in mind, or kind of start thinking about fees and how we wanna structure the fees. You know, we've had this discussion before, some of us think that the fees are way too low, some of us think that the fees are too high, so we kind of, we ought to have a mindset on how we wanna do that. The thing we wanna keep in mind is the, you know, the one night versus the every other night, or, you know, 2 or 3 weekends in a row, or something like that, so kind of keep that in mind, and we can talk about that when we get to that point. Okay? All right, moving on to old business. General assistance maximums. I need to, everybody had a chance to take a look at that? A lot of information there.
There's nothing really you can do about it.
No,
No,
it's-
State.
Yeah,
It's all state mandated.
yeah,
Yeah.
and these are the ones that we accept every year,
Correct.
yeah.
As it changes, we accept it,
Yeah.
so.
Does this do anything with, cause when we establish the budget, don't we preset these, does this,
We provide a certain amount of money within our budget to cover our costs. We have reimbursement from the state of around 70%. So, and if you've noticed the last several years that we've been doing the budget, I've been ratcheting down the amount that we placed there. And I think we've done a very good job of getting outside agencies and groups that have provided funding to us to assist in some of these folks, and then we've been able to really curb that down, so it doesn't affect our budget one way or the other, these maximum.
I mean, we approved the general assistance maximums for the period October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2019, as set by the state.
Second,
A motion and a second, any further discussion? All those in favor? Motion
I have that right here, if you can sign that document, that'd be great.
All right. So we have an application for an automobile graveyard and or junkyard permit.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we actually have two.
Two,
We have-
right.
We have two, one from, and these are traditionally, something that we reviewed and provided, approval, to on an annual basis. One is, Marcel Dubois, and the other one is AIM, Recycling out of Route 1. The paperwork has been submitted, has been reviewed by the code enforcement officer. It would be my recommendation to approve as submitted for both Du Bois and AIM.
Move for approval.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve both the Du Bois Junkyard and AIM. And Recycling USA, okay, any discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Motion
I have
carries.
those both here,
Both.
I'll send them on down. Good night, gentlemen.
Good night.
Thank you.
Broke another toy. I didn't break it, broke by itself.
Okay. On the agenda is, the agent appointment.
Yes, the Bureau of Secretaries, the Department of Secretary of State's Bureau of Motor Vehicles, has a municipal, Bureau of Motor Vehicles agent appointment letter. And I need an appointment letter for our town clerk, Emily Neto, to provide those services on behalf of the town. What I need is a motion and a second to allow two municipal officials to sign the appointment letter on behalf of Emily. I provided the appointment letter within your packet, as referenced.
I make a motion that we approve Emily as our BMV agent. Sign the appointment letter.
Second?
Motion and a second, any further discussion?
The chair and the vice chair, who's the vice chair?
Me.
You can't.
Right,
Yeah.
we can't.
So,
Chair and the secretary sign?
yeah,
Don't need the
did she
secretary?
sign tonight?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good, we'll send it on down to her.
All those in favor? And one abstention.
Down at the bottom, right next to Emily's signature. Thank you.
Is that gonna be legible?
Should have seen it with my left hand.
All right, next on the agenda is, work over at the transfer station.
Yes, as you all know, we had a change in our municipal insurance, general liability and insurance. And as a result of that, MMA comes through and actually does a review of all of our buildings. Right now, we're presently working on some of them. But some of them needed a little more attention, as opposed to the town office and public works and some things that occurred over to the fire station need to be repaired. So, Roger went out and received a estimate for repairs for both the transfer station and the salt shed based on the information that was provided to us through MMA insurance. Those numbers for the transfer station repair for all of it was $4,700, and the salt shed repairs was $3,400. Now, obviously, we did not have that money budgeted within any budget to cover it. So my suggestion and recommendation to you folks would be to utilize a portion of the municipal building capital reserve fund that is, that you have the ability to exercise some authority over. If you recall, we used it when the fire station got crashed into to supplement our insurance carries cost to to cover the, needed additional repairs. As we were looking at it, there was some, rotten wood and some, water infiltration that needed to be done, and so it would be my recommendation, based on the, estimate that we received, to allocate some funding from the capital reserve fund to cover the cost to do this, maintenance work.
What's the total? 47 and what?
34.
47 and 34,
8100?
yes.
So how did we pick Glover Construction, where did that come from?
The what?
This construction company.
This construction company?
It was a company that, Roger was put onto by one of his employees. So we asked them to come down. Roger had been working locally with trying to secure somebody, within our area, and quite frankly, they're so busy, nobody wants to touch it in the time frame that we would like to get it done, and that's obviously before the snow flies, so. We got this, estimate, we thought it was decent, at this particular point. If you don't wanna take the estimate, we can do some additional, search and get some more written estimates based on the criteria we have here, but I don't think it'll be any more than 8,100. If you want to have us do a little more due diligence and get some more written estimates, we can.
How are we avoiding the bid process here?
Um,
By separating these out into two separate projects?
that's one way.
What was that, Tom?
We got a $5,000 bid process, we're supposed to have to bid.
Yeah.
So we can't do these as, I don't think, as
As
one
one item.
project.
Right.
We have to separate them out if we just wanna award it to Glover Construction.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they are truly two separate projects. I mean,
Right, I don't have any problem with that.
Yeah.
They just can't move the
The funds over.
fund $8,100.
Yeah.
Right, you have to do it in two separate.
Right.
Is the insurance company gonna come back and check on this? Is this gonna affect
Yeah,
our?
well, yeah, what they do is that right now they're doing these, reviews on our behalf to, in the event that we, get audited by the Department of Labor. And this stuff needs to be updated, and these suggestions need to be exercised in order to keep us at least at bay if the Department of Labor comes down and does an audit of our facilities.
It probably needs to be done before the snow flies.
Does anybody have any concerns with going with this company? Anybody feel that we should at least allocate the funds, allow the transfer, and then go try to get some other bids, or are we okay with that?
My fear is if this organization can do the work and do it in the time frame that we need it, I'm fearful if we don't do something right away, we may lose him
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah, agreed.
You know?
and if Roger's done some due diligence with this company, then I trust Roger.
Roger knows the company?
Well, he's
It's one of his
spoken to him,
employees.
got the estimate, and I know that he's tried, to work with some local folks to see if they could come in and help us as well.
Yeah.
And,
He's gonna oversee the work?
yeah. I'll make sure he does.
Yeah.
Terry's right there.
Terry will.
Yeah, yeah,
Terry knows more
Yeah.
about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
I move we approve the 4,700 for the Glover Construction Company to repair the transfer station.
I'll second that.
We have a motion for the $4,700 for the transfer station through Glover Construction. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Looking for a motion for the salt shed.
I make a motion then that we have Glover Construction repair the salt shed at a total cost of $3,400.
I'll second that.
Have a motion and a second, for repair of the salt shed through Glover Construction. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. All right, now on to the people that like to break stuff.
Town's falling apart here.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, we don't like to do this to you, but we have no choice. Randall brought it to my attention that our Homatro SR20 twin line dual extrication pump is failing. As the memo provided to you this evening, indicates, the work that we've done, and what we've reviewed. And the uniqueness of the fire service, unfortunately, is that, each manufacturer generally has a region. And with the region comes exclusivity, I guess, on their particular product. Right now, we have Homaltro product. We did receive estimates for a Hearst tool, as well as,
Genesis.
yeah, Genesis tool. The Hearst tool, because you can't swap these between each manufacturer. If you have a Homaltro tool, you actually have to have those parts and pieces. You can't take a Hearst pump and put it with the Homaltro stuff, so in essence, if we went to go to another company, we have to replace everything within the extrication, tool. We think that's just excessive. One estimate was, well over 27,000, and the other one was, well over 30,000, as I look at option ones within the Genesis tool, so, I think, the best avenue for us to go would be to replace the Homatro pump with a new pump. It will attach to the tools that we presently have, so we don't have to replace them. And if you look at this unit, that has to be replaced, I looked at it again today, it looks like an oversized little generator to me, with a hydraulic pump on it, and they want $8,800 for it. So I sit here and say, geez, we just got done, buying two small generators for like $900, $1,000 a piece. So, they really have you, when it comes to this uniqueness of these fire service equipment, so.
This is the pump that operates the jaws of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the problem with it is it has an internal gas tank, and that style of pump is now obsolete. You can't buy parts for it. The gas tank is leaking. It's leaking really bad. If I fill it up right now, tomorrow morning it'll be empty. So it's also become a fire hazard now, and there's no parts to be had to repair it, so it has to be replaced.
You know where the tank is leaking?
They told me it's in the seams. You have to tear the whole pump apart to get to it. And they looked at it last year. It was leaking a little bit last year, but now it's gotten a lot worse. And he told me it was in the seams of the gas tank.
It's an internal, the tank is actually built right into the unit,
Yeah.
and it's all covered up, so. It's not like, you could just pop the tank off and put a new tank on. It doesn't appear that way to me in any way. So,
our best option is this 8,817 for the,
well, yeah, it looks like it's our only option, which I hate to say.
It's not our only option,
Well,
but.
yeah, you can spend $30,000 if you want,
Yeah.
and buy all new extrication tools, but,
So, I guess that's one of the questions that I wanna ask also is, the tools that we use today, the extrication tools, what shape are they in? Is that something that,
The tools are in good shape. We replaced the cutter about 5 or 6 years ago to the higher pressure cutter. Just be aware though, every year they're coming out with new exotic metals. 3 or 4 years down the road, this may not cut the new metals, cause everything's getting high tension now.
what's the PSI of this unit?
The new pump is 10,000 pounds. The one that we have now, I believe, is 9,000 or 9,500. So this is a higher pressure pump.
Yeah, and our tools can handle that higher pressure.
Yes, our tools are rated for that pressure. And the nice thing with the new pump, we can run 2 tools at once. The old pump, we can only run 1 at a time. So I have to keep somebody at the pump to swap the lever over to go from tool to tool, so. It's a much better pump. And like Pete said, that's the cheapest way we're gonna get out of this thing. There is an upgrade to the pump, to the tools, our tool uses 2 hoses per tool. There's a pressure line and a return line. They now have a new core technology system that it's 1 line instead of 2. The nice thing with that is you can swap the tool out at the end of the line, you don't have to run back to the pump to bleed it off to do it. And I'm the type of guy that really hates to ask for money, but it's up to you guys. We can upgrade, we can buy the new pump and upgrade to the one line system. Total of that would be $12,569. I know it's a big chunk of money, but, I can live with just the replacement of the pump. You know, that'll
Yeah,
put us back in service.
I think you put that as part of your, you know, the upgrade, part of your budget for next year. That's
Yeah,
what
I'm not quite sure if the new, if we buy this pump, will it be able to take the single core line if we wanted to upgrade to the
We'll
line?
have to upgrade the pump then.
See, so we have to stay with what we have. If we get this pump, then we've got what we've got.
Yeah, if we replace what we have now, we have to stay with the dual lines.
Right.
If we upgrade, then I have to upgrade the tools, and that brings us the hoses, for 2 of them is $1,916, and the upgrade kits for the tools, there's 3 of them, that'd be $1,836. So it'd bring us our grand total for the pump and the hoses and the upgrades to $12,569.
$12,924 here.
And we got 134 plus or minus in the capital reserve.
That's correct. And we'll be allocating another 40,000 to it this year after this year's approved.
Keith, is there a way that we can take this out of the TIF money?
I don't believe there is. It doesn't relate to that.
It doesn't relate to,
Yeah,
you know, out in the woods, you know, but.
well, it does if they got a truck out there and they roll it over.
Good point.
So are you
What's the
recommending,
board's pleasure?
are you recommending
If
that
we-
the 8817?
If we buy the 2-line pump now, and you put in your budget to upgrade, that pump can be upgraded to the 1 line.
I don't know 100%, I believe it can be, but I don't know 100%, cause
Cause if
he quoted me on both pumps are the same price, but they're different hookups.
yeah, but if you buy the 2-line pump and you can't upgrade, if the pump can't upgrade, then you're stuck with what you got for
Yeah.
how many
but-
years?
Yeah, and like I say, 5-6 years down the road, with the new metals coming out, they got the new boron steel now that very few tools will cut that, so,
But that has nothing to do with what pump we order today, right? Because
Right,
the only difference today is, what you're suggesting is we buy the unit that has a cord line for
Yeah.
a return and a feed.
Yeah.
Versus the 2 lines.
Correct.
So that cord line is 12,900 instead of 8,800. Thelma, you had a question?
Yeah, you've got the same price, 8817 on both pumps.
both pumps are
they're
the
the
same
same.
price, just different lines set up on them.
Which setup works the best with what we have?
Right now, we have a dual line setup, so if we're gonna stay with what we have, we buy the dual line. If we upgrade to the core technology, then we have to buy the 2 new lines and the 3 update kits for the tools. The core technology is it actually works faster. And I don't have to keep anybody at the pump to swap the lever over. I can swap the tool at wherever I am instead of running back to the pump to bleed the line off. Cause these, they have to be bled off. If you don't bleed them off, you can't hook the tool back into it. So it's new technology that it's a little quicker and
And
it
what's
saves
that-
a person.
And what's that total cost if you decided to go the better route?
If we went with the upgraded, the
Yep.
total would be $12,569.
12,569.
I've got a different price on this sheet. We've got 12,924.
924.
I got,
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, something.
cause the pump is 8817.
You're 12,569 based on the sheet he gave us.
Yeah, what's this?
8817 for the core
Yep.
dual pump.
Yep.
the core hose orange times two would be 1916, and the core upgrade kit for the tools would be 1836.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
they
you're
just
only
got-
adding those three.
They got extra tools, I just looked at this a little bit more, these,
Yeah.
what you gave us just has other tools.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I
We don't
got-
need those tools, we
Those are
just need the
battery.
kit that takes the
Right,
two lines, puts it into
Puts it
one
into
so that
one.
you can,
Yeah.
Yep.
What I did is I got 3 bids for complete replacement packages,
right,
hydraulic and battery operated, cause now they have all battery operated stuff, and that's what they're pushing now, so.
yeah.
But the
Down the
right,
road, if we find that new metals come out or what have you, and our tool doesn't look at, we can either upgrade the tools
Right.
to fit this pump,
right,
or go to a battery cutter,
Right.
battery spreader, or whatever.
Yeah.
but you know, I just can't bring myself to sit here tonight and ask you for $36,000, just cause my motor's bad, you know?
Okay,
So for 12,569, you're getting something that's really upgraded,
Yes,
is easier, faster, better to use.
yes.
For that whole price, yeah.
any other comments from the board? You know, from my perspective, if we're gonna spend $8,800, we might as well spend $12,000,
Yeah.
but,
And that's the way I feel too.
okay, looking for a motion?
I'd even make that a motion that we go with the 12,569 and that we take it out of the capital equipment sweep account.
I can't vote on this one either,
Yeah,
right?
that's-
The only thing I'll
I'll-
recommend is cap that and just have Reno, just make sure that our tools can fit that core tech, you know?
Yeah, it's an upgrade kit, they take the handle off and they put a single hose on it.
All right, so we have a motion, for $12,569 to buy the core dual pump and the kits. Do I hear a second?
I seconded that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor? One abstention. Motion passes.
Can't vote on anything anymore.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Don't come back again, Mayor.
yeah.
I'm hoping not to.
Thank you.
And my deficits from the insurance company at the fire station are done.
Yeah.
I'll take care of them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, other business, accounts payable and warrant.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor?
Who made the motion?
No, Jason, Delma second.
You get anxious, Keith, I haven't been able to vote and.
yeah.
Jump right on.
Anybody else got anything they want to bring up? Oh, Jason.
Nope, go ahead, Phil, sorry.
Mr. Hayes is pretty quiet.
Yeah,
You still awake?
yeah,
It's nice. Oh, yeah, it's still here.
yeah. That's it, Charlie.
Dawn, I
Yeah,
got a question.
Yeah.
What happens to the rest of, is there equipment left over from when you changing equipment?
We haven't used,
Is there equipment left over?
No, it's just, they're just changing the pump, and that pump will be able to use, the
So you're
equipment
still
that we have
using
today.
all your own equipment, everything, you don't have any.
Hoses,
extra
it sounds like the
equipment?
hoses will be,
right, the hoses be updated to our tools. So hose and a new hoses and pump.
What happens to the old hoses?
The old hoses, we can either dispose of them, plus we'll have an old pump that it leaks with gas, so not quite sure, we haven't crossed that bridge when we get to it yet. I don't believe there's any trade-in value, if there was, we'll ask it,
yeah.
believe me.
motion to adjourn.
Second, we have a motion to adjourn, and a second
I make a
at
motion.
Yeah.
7:58 PM. Go Steelers.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Yeah.
Motion carries.